Let me just go through some legal stuff. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tuesday, 14th of March. It's 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 5 p.m. in the UK. I have to say that this webinar is for information education only. Nothing said, not said, implied, or not implied is a solicitation to buy, sell, trade, not trade in any vehicle whatsoever. And please note, I am not a registered financial advisor. That's what my lawyers... My God, somebody's just said that it's 4 a.m. in Melbourne. Wow, brave man. Either a great night or a really bad morning. Good luck to you, Peter. Listen, just on top of that legal stuff, which the lawyers get me to say, I just want to stress as well, we have got FOMC tomorrow. Now, that can be an extremely volatile event, so just be a little bit careful. Anything you see today, just step into things, look at things very, very carefully. Don't just jump into something ahead of FOMC. It's not a great idea. Right. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me. I don't want to go on for too long. So what I'm going to do today is briefly introduce myself. Then we're going to look at a few charts, which I guess is what most people want to see. We'll look at gold, silver, Brent. Somebody asked me to look at Bitcoin. And what I'm going to do is try and show how the methodology that I use can make them readable and accessible to anyone, whether you're an expert, whether you're a beginner. Finally, I'm going to talk briefly about my new website, which is now up and running. Because I am not a great expert with webinars, what I'm going to do is just take questions at the end, if you don't mind. So if you think I'm not responding to what you're typing in, just please be patient. I will take some questions at the end if that's all right. Great. First of all, a few words about me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ben Drage, and as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm British. I'm based in the UK. My background, I read law at Oxford. I started work in 1982 in the City of London, working in the money markets, and I stayed there until 1998, and I was working in various boutique firms looking at what was then the nascent interest rate swap market. I left in 98 in order to concentrate on my personal trading, and that's pretty much what I've been doing since then. Right, gosh, now we got that out of the way, let's go and have a look at some charts. See what I mean when I talk about trying to decode the market. The first thing, the most important thing to me is to have clear and uncluttered charts. Okay, what you see in front of you is the ES Daily. It is about as plain a chart as you can get. It's got price on there and a few lines. I've got no MACD, no MACD, no RSI, no moving averages, no bollies, and certainly no Elliott wave, which for the life of me, I can't understand after 35 years in the market. What I look at purely and simply is price, okay? And looking at this chart in front of you, I guess to most people, it makes sense, okay? You can see where there's support, and I guess what stands out as well above anything is probably the resistance that you got along this line here. Yeah, a couple of bits of resistance, 1, 2, and price has fallen away from that. Basically, it's simple, it's clear, it's a kind of chart that you could actually trade with conviction. Right, what I'm going to do, little trick, I'm going to take away the pitchfork. Okay, that is exactly the same chart without the pitchfork. And I'm guessing that it's a little bit more difficult for most of you to understand what's going on. I mean, for example, you know what's happening across here. All these bars fairly concerted together, pretty concise. Again, here's a kind of a step up, and then we moved higher, and we kind of hit the top and fell away. All that I try to do with pitchforks is just try to put the moves of price into some kind of pattern, some kind of a way that you can actually see what's going. So let me show you what to do. Just take the pitchfork tool, go down to a low, go up to a high here, go down to a low again, and we just put the lines on. Nice and simple. In fact, I just want it on this low here. We put the lines on, and all of a sudden, you remember I was talking about why these lines were all bunched up together here? The reason is because they've run into this line here, the median line. Price drops away. If we're looking a little bit tighter at what's happening at the bottom here, just ignore this one crazy Trump bar, should we call it. Look where price comes down to support, and then moves to the upside again. It moves from the lower parallel, pretty much an anticipated level of support. I'm not going to in any way claim that the Trump bar could have been caught by the pitchfork. It couldn't, all right? But you can see outside that, we've got perfect support there. We move up to the upside, again, all the way up. You can see along here, these bars, these concertina bars I was talking about, you've got the support of the quartile across there. we move on up, we hit the median line, and we back off again. I mean, that is purely and simply what we do. You take the chart away, you take the fork away, you've got a naked chart, you undo, delete, you put it back on. All of a sudden, you've got context, you've got an idea of what is actually happening in this chart. So look, the holy, hang on a sec. Sorry guys, I've got a bit of a throat, so if I suddenly mute myself like that, you'll know there's something terrible happening this end that I don't want you to hear. What I was saying was that the holy grail of trading or investing is to try and find areas of support and resistance. When you've done that, you can trade with confidence. Okay, that's why we look at charts. We're basically looking for patterns. Okay, the way we're set up by nature is that our brains are wired to respond to patterns. Okay, we see a pattern in a chart, we feel comfortable with it. Okay. Get rid of the pattern in the chart. Let's get rid of this fork again. Not so comfortable. Bring it back. Much more comfortable. We can see what we're doing. I can do that all day. What I'm going to do is go and look at something else. I'm going to go and look at yen on a daily chart. Sorry, that's the throat again. Look, this is yen on a daily chart going back to 2014. I guess the way that most people would probably look at it, you kind of take a horizontal, you go across here, see what's going on. Yeah, we're kind of catching this. Maybe we're going to go and see if we got anything further up there. Yeah, that's quite nice. Other people are going to look at Fibonacci numbers. We've got a high, we've got a low. Let's take the fib. Let's go from up here. Let's take them down, get onto our low there. And all of a sudden, we're beginning to find kind of what's going on with Fibonacci's. Nothing much with these lows down here, not so much with that high, we didn't catch that, and we more or less caught these lows. I'm now going to demonstrate what a pitchfork could do. Take my pitchfork, I'm going to go to this low back here, going to take it up to the high. This is the high we used for the fib up there. Take it again down to this low, down there, and all of a sudden it kind of makes a lot more sense, or it does to me. I mean, the pattern to me is it's a lot easier for me to look at that than it is to try and work something out with the fibs. Without going into too much detail, look what we've got across here. You can see we've got support across here, we've got support across here, we've got a touch here, one touch, 101. From there, what do? We steam all the way up to the median line. That's 118.5, that's 1,700 points in just over a month. Absolutely massive move. What happens? We catch that absolutely precisely. We had this pitchfork, we were looking at that, we caught that precisely. Price came to the downside. It worked its way down. I won't go through all the details because we don't really have time here, but the basic thing to note is that the quartile, which was a bit of support back here in early 2016, bit of resistance. You could argue that was resistance there as well. It caught that little bounce there and prices started to move up again. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but look, just what we're looking at the moment, we're just running a little line parallel to the fork from that little high there, and this is what we've been looking at the last few days. We've been looking at that resistance that is beginning to come into focus just from just taking it generally from what's going on with the pitchfork. Okay, we also look across time frames. I'm going to go and look at the Japanese yen now, take it down and go and have a look at it in a 60-minute, 60-minute chart. That's the Aussie. Well, here we go. This is Japanese yen, 60-minute. You can just see the move that we've had here. Again, you've got a similar kind of thing happening. Let me just take away the fork again and just show you. It's kind of not that clear what's going on. Again, I'd suggest maybe people would look at a horizontal across like that and start talking about it being bullish just above that, and then it immediately falls underneath. And yeah, not the best way, I don't think, to analyze things. I'm going to put back my pitchfork, and again, let me just show you exactly where it comes from. It comes from this low down here, went up to there, down to there, and we just watch and see what happens. You can see that price did move up. We hit the median line here, fell back down. You can see again the lines. I'm not going to go through all the details that we're looking at here. Up again to the median line, and back we fell again. People that are looking at horizontals, this is the sort of level that they're thinking about getting long at. We take out a high, they start getting long, we go a bit higher, and immediately fall back. Again, this one, that is absolutely perfect. Look at that. We just go above that high, just by a few pips, hit resistance, down we go. Breakout traders would be absolutely creamed by that. Absolutely creamed. They start going long as soon as we move above a previous big high, standout high. We move above that, they go long, bang, the door gets shut on them. They are getting creamed. We've been looking at the green sliding parallel here. You can see there's a lot happening along this. You can see support, resistance, support again, support there, resistance. We had a little push above that earlier today. We're now pushing down underneath. I guess some of the members are now looking at to see what happens in relation to this line across there. All we're doing is we're trying to build up a picture of supports and resistances, and to give the trader, the investor, a really good idea, a really good chance of discovering what is going on in this market. Okay, I'm just going to go back and look at the Aussie. I've looked at up forks so far. I mean, this works equally well with a fork that's moving to the downside. This is Australian dollar, again a 60-minute chart. You can see we've got high, low, high again there, and you probably don't need me to tell you what's going on here. You can see what's happening with the lines. I don't mind the fact that we actually moved beneath the lower parallel of the fork. All I did was I drew a line in the line of the fork just from the low there, and that's pretty well caught what's going on there. Yeah, a couple of pips underneath, 3 or 4 points. I'm not going to get too worried about that. Again, you can see what's happening. We have this sliding parallel here. Support across there, support across there. We move up to it, it becomes resistance, we push through it quite strongly, move a little bit higher, we come back down, we test it, we start moving to the upside once more. All we're doing, just once more, is putting things into context. You can see that we have got a constant channel that we're running in. The channel is moving to the downside, we're following that down a little bit. Just one other thing I'd noticed, I'd point out about this, people saying, oh, you've got to run absolutely in the lines of the fork. I think that's complete and utter rubbish. Just have a look at this gap that we've got from the upper parallel to the green sliding parallel there. Do you see that? I'm just going to mirror that down there. It's virtually the same, okay? The distance that we are from the upper parallel to all this resistance across here is pretty much the same as the lower parallel to what we have there. What effectively has happened is the whole fork's just shifted to the downside a little bit. Right, that is a very, very quick outline looking at what we do. So whether you're a newbie, you're a seasoned professional, when you can actually see the pattern in a chart and you can actually understand what's happening, you can then trade that chart with a little bit more confidence. I'm going to go on and look at a few more charts. First of all, let's go and have a look at Australian dollar. This has been one of my favorite ones for the last few weeks. Let me just put this in place. Again, this is a naked chart. This is Australian dollar on a daily basis. Classical technique, you look at horizontals, you look at what's above, what's beneath. Let me get the horizontals there, across there. Maybe we put something across there. It's not bad. It's not bad. You're beginning to see what's happening. But, what's happening across here? What's happening here? Why is this doing that? Let me just get rid of everything again, and once more, I'm going to take my fork tool and I'm going to go and I'm going to draw a fork from here to there and down to there. Okay, now that is all right. It worked initially. We found median line resistance up there, we found a little bit of support along there, then price dropped beneath it. All right, we do use different types of forks. I'm not going to go into all the details now, but just look, I'm just using the tool that I have. I'm just going to change that and turn it to, I'm moving effectively moving my handle of the fork halfway between the A, which is where we originally started. Let me just show you there. Okay, I'm moving it halfway between there and the B point there. Okay, not going to go into details at this stage. We don't need it. Let me just try and build up on this a little bit more. We've obviously stepped just underneath the lower parallel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another little line there. That's a quartile. It's the same distance from the lower parallel as this quartile is. Okay, catches things very, very nicely. I'm going to add it a bit more. I'm going to put in sliding parallel. I'm going to go across this here. Make it nice and green so everyone can see it. You can see we're catching all those resistances pretty nicely. I'm going to put another one across there on those supports. Again, we've got support, 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 all these supports. And this is what we've been watching for the last, I guess, almost 3 or 4 months, for quite, oh no, even more than that, going back to, I guess, to sort of September, October time. We've been watching the support and resistance. We've been watching price run in this channel up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, when we dipped, we've been watching this. As soon as we dipped underneath the green sliding parallel, as soon as we dipped underneath support, we were looking for the next place where we were going to find support. Where did we find it? Absolutely bang on the lower parallel there. We moved up. We didn't get as high as the sliding parallel here. We didn't have enough power in the up move. Therefore, that told us the likelihood is we were going to move to the downside some more. We found resistance at the quartile. We moved down. We looked to see if we were going to find support here at the median, at the lower parallel. Didn't manage to. Down underneath it. We came up again. We found our support here, started moving to the upside, thought this would be resistance, and let's just look at it. 3 days we had a bit of resistance there, moved above it, up to resistance. Okay, spent about 10-15 days underneath it, pushed up above it, back into this again. That I'm not going to go into 100% all the detail and all the nuances that we're actually looking at on this. Let me just move on from that. That's Aussie Daily. I said I'd go and have a look at gold and silver. Can I just ask how many people here are looking at gold and silver? Looking to trade it. I mean, I've put quite a few charts into Twitter. I've got a separate service which looks particularly and only at gold, silver. We don't just look at them in US dollars. We look at them across other currencies, and we also look at some of the miners as well. This again is a daily chart. I'm not going to go through everything, otherwise I'm just going to be here for far too long. Just let it be said that once we were getting up to these kind of levels, these 1378s, 1375s, we were thinking, okay, maybe price is just going a little bit high. What we started looking to do, and I draw hundreds of charts every day. Eventually started drawing charts and just came up with this, and this is the downfork that I've shown in Twitter a few times. If I just move that up from a high to a low, up to another high, put it in red because I do like my charts to be red, and I hope you can see that what that does is it encapsulates the moves that we've seen in gold ever since this high back in July last year. Okay, I'm going to get rid of it again. Okay, how did we know about this point down here? 1124 or whatever it is. Let's put let's put this back in place. Once again, the reason that we were anticipating a kind of a bounce back in December was because we had this line here. Okay, since then prices moved up. Let me just actually, before I do that, let's just talk about the fork a little bit more. You can see all the resistance that we have along the upper parallel here. Okay, we're beginning to be quite confident that there's a line of resistance down there. What we're doing with pitchforks is we're finding not just the line of resistance, but we're finding the equivalent line of support. So when price fell here, we were looking to see if we found a little bit of support at the median line, and we did. We just touched it one day and bounced to the upside once more. I'm just going to go in a little bit tighter on this so people can see this. We hit that median line, we started moving to the upside. Okay, these big bars here are the US election bars. Okay, we pushed just above the upper parallel, but look how strongly we came down. When you see a strong bar, you know that a line is really doing something, particularly if that bar closes down at the bottom. Okay, so I've got to say, having seen that move to the downside, we were not particularly confident that we would see another, that we'd see further support here at the median line. In fact, what happened, again, support here, price went underneath it, came back up, and we found resistance there. Resistance there, we started moving to the downside. We looked to see if we were going to find anything happening along this quartile here. We didn't. We came all the way to the downside. Middle of December, we hit the lower parallel, and from there we started moving to the upside. I'm just going to do two more things to here. I'm going to add a couple of bars. One off this big bar at the beginning. If we just put that in like that, I'm going to put it green so you can see what's going on, and another off that high there. And these are another couple of things we were looking at. When price came down from after the election, we moved to the downside. That's where we found our initial support. We got a little bounce through it, and support became resistance, and down we went. just a little bit of color to add to it. In the same way as when we moved to the upside recently, we hit the high 1266. I think that was about the towards the end of February. Why did we hit it there? Why did we turn? Because we had a sliding parallel resistance. We touched there. We fell away to the downside. We're currently looking to see if the median line is going to provide us with any support down here. That's the chart that I've been showing a few times in Twitter. What I just want to try and do is just show you another gold chart, and this is one that is also I want to talk in relation to this low that we've got here, 1124. Okay, this is one that we're actually live on at the moment, that we've been trading for quite some time. Again, I just want to point out the low that we've got down here, 1125. This was the middle of December low. Not only did we have the red fork telling us that this was going to be the low, we also had this fork, the lower parallel. Again, could not have been more precise. I'm just going to draw in the red fork again on this so you can see what I'm talking about. Go from a high to a low, up to that high again, color it red because I like my down forks red, and I mean, I don't know. Can you get any more precise than that bar there? I don't think so. Anyway, okay, that's what we're looking at on this. How we're looking at this. I'm just going to get rid of this red fork. I'm not going to go through all the details of this blue fork because that is unfair to members. But look, you can just see we've got a line of support across here. Resistance there becomes support. If we follow it through, support there. Bit of resistance, support, and that's what we've come down to. This is the line that we are looking to see if we can continue support along there. I'm reasonably bullish running into FOMC as long as we're above 1195. If price moves underneath this, particularly if it comes back up and touches that, and the support that we're seeing along this line suddenly turns into resistance, if that happens, then I'm going to be bearish in terms of gold. Again, I'm not. Bear with me a little bit. I'm not giving away all the secrets on a free webinar like this, as it really is not fair to members. Right, going to move on. Gold 20. I've been looking mainly at daily charts up to now. This is a 20-minute chart. Again, I think I've posted a couple of tweets of this. Gold has been running in a very, very tight downtrend for quite some time. Let me just show you this as this is a 60-minute chart. This is the trend that we've been running. Okay, there's reasonable information along this. Resistance, resistance, support, support, support. Yeah, okay, you can see that. We go back to our 20-minute chart and we get a lot more information. Again, it comes from this high here. It's a modified shift. Started looking at virtually immediately. As soon as I started finding these lows, as I say, I draw hundreds of charts every day. So as soon as I start seeing lows like this, particularly when we got a reaction from that low, and we moved up to the upper parallel, we knew we were in business with this chart. We knew that this was something which was showing us the path of price. This was showing us the way that that price was going to move. As we go on, as time goes on, as you can see here, we're looking at what happens. The resistance here at the upper parallel. Okay, we start moving down a little bit. Price starts to push a little bit lower in terms of where it finds support. Instead of being above the median line like it is here, we move a little bit lower. Let me just widen the chart a bit. There you go. We start finding support above the quartile. This continues. Our resistance lowers as well. Instead of being up here along the median line, price doesn't have enough power to get up to the median line. Get up to the upper parallel like this. It stops at the quartile. We fall away, and eventually we start finding resistance here along the median line, as you can see. And what happens again? Price is just pushing down. All of a sudden, we start getting non-farm payrolls. I think this was, and price starts shooting a little bit higher. Instead of resistance being here at the median line, okay, it moves back up to the upper parallel. We continue what's going. It even moves beyond the upper parallel. We move up here. We move up to the warning line, and the warning line is just a line we're looking at, equidistant from here, just out one. You can see that's where we hit resistance. We come back down, and we don't even come back to test the upper parallel. We're still moving upwards and outwards. And here today, this is what we've been looking at. Let me just go in a little bit tighter on this. You can see what we were looking at here. We pushed up to this warning line, the red warning line, once more, pushed above it, and if anything, we've come back down to test it. Okay? Because we've got the beginnings of a change of behavior, a fork doesn't just show you which way price is running. It's running down. It also shows you when we are beginning to find a change of behavior. We're beginning to move a little bit to the upside. Okay, so what we're seeing here is we're seeing the support stepping up to here, eventually to this warning line. So all I did was just draw in a blue fork. Now I have absolutely no idea if this is working, if this will work, if we find support here. We got one bounce from this level previously. Okay, that could have been from the warning line. It might have been from this potential lower parallel. It's not validated yet. I quite like the way that we've got these highs. They're almost in the line of the fork. Let me just try and show you that. Let me just draw a little line off there. Move in a bit tighter. You can see that's pretty much in the line. So we might, if we start finding support here, if we find support here, 1203, and move up to 1208, I'm going to start thinking, yeah, maybe this is working. What I may have to do though is change the fork into a modified shift, maybe into a shift like that. I just don't know at this stage. Okay, I'm not going to say that this fork, this blue fork, now that we moved out of the red fork, it's a 20-minute fork, but this is going to take you to 1500 gold. Can't say that. What we're doing is we're just running slowly with what we are seeing. Right. That's what I wanted to show on gold. Let me go and have a quick look at silver as well. I'm not going to go through that in quite as much detail. Again, look, this is silver to the downside, 20-minute fork again. You can see we didn't get quite as perfect resistance, but resistance at the upper parallel. I mean, this is a really narrow fork or a really narrow channel for silver, but you can see what I'm talking about, the upper parallel resistance, the lower parallel support. You can see how things are running. Again, we start moving to the upside. You can see here we burst through. I guess this was just before non-farm payrolls. We had a little flurry to the upside. Again, we took out a horizontal literally by a couple of ticks, right? I mean, that might even be 1 cent or something. 1731, yeah, I mean, half a cent. Just took that out. Strong move to the downside. Look at the strength of that bar to the downside. This is why I don't like breakout trades. Okay, you push slightly higher, massive turning round. What happens? We fall right back to the lower part of the fork. In fact, we fall underneath the lower parallel before we start beginning to move a little bit to the upside. Whoops, sorry about this jaggering about. Again, price starts moving up. What do? We start looking for previous resistance. We run a line off that high there. We just push past it again. And if anything, we come back, maybe find a bit of support on it. So, you can see the beginning of a blue fork there. What we did is we started looking to see what was happening. We're starting to see resistance along the quartile there. Okay, we keep looking. We move up to the upper parallel, hit resistance there absolutely perfectly. Start moving to the downside again. Start finding lower parallel support. Okay, it was still there at the lower parallel. Because we are not managing to move higher in the fork, because we're moving kind of sideways, we're getting a bit nervous, price starts dipping beneath. All of a sudden, what we've been finding is the support of the lower parallel. We've fallen underneath it, we come up, it starts becoming resistance. Okay, support turns into resistance is bearish. Even though we've got an up pointing fork, we're seeing price ride down in that fork. It's stepping down, so bearish at the moment on silver. Ran a line again off this low. I'm just going to highlight that in green so you can see it. Initially got a little bit of support there. We move back up again. Where do you think we're going to find resistance? Well, okay, we spiked above the lower parallel of the fork, hit it once more. Now it starts getting a bit messy. Okay, we're beginning to lose the support that we had. We're still finding resistance along this line, but just beginning to lose the support. If we were running with a horizontal, let me just make this a horizontal. Okay, we wouldn't be worried. It wouldn't be telling us quite as much. Okay, we're still above horizontal. Whoops, we're still above horizontal support. What this is telling us, and particularly because look at this line, support may now be resistance. If this stays underneath 1695, you've got again support becoming resistance. As you found up here, support became resistance. We're moving to the downside. Great, that is a lot of detailed look at silver. Let me just very, very quickly look at what we've got on the daily chart. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail of the fork that we found here, but you can see what we were looking. Remember, end of December, we found, or the middle of December, we found the lows in gold. Exactly the same time we've got these off this lower parallel that we've got running along here, and that is what we were looking at. We're currently looking at this green sliding parallel along here, all the support you can see on it. We've come down from that to that level, and we're looking at that. 1687 is where we're looking to establish daily support. If we move underneath that, particularly if this line starts to become resistance, then I think we're looking at 1626 as our next support, which is down at the lower parallel. All right. I don't, however, mean this. I've got to point this out. If price moves underneath this line, I don't mean it is definitely going to go here. Okay, it is the next place that I would look. Right, that's gold and silver. Oh, Tony's just asked about. Sorry, this literally just caught my eye. He said you talked about gold and other currencies. I'm Canadian. What have you got? Gold and silver. Hang on, let's just go. Oh, here you go. Yeah, silver in Canadian. This is a weekly chart. Let me just show you very quickly what this is. I mean, you can see across the top. I'm looking at the currencies, gold and silver in across various currencies. Sterling, excuse me, sterling, euro, Aussie, CAD, yen, yuan, etc., etc. Canadian, what I've got is a little bit of an uptrend here. Quite nice the way price is running. We are just down beneath the lower parallel of the fork here. Would look to see if we pick up support around about 22.12 level. That was what I'd look. Would like to see price get up above 23.09 though, to continue the little move that we've got. Also, just notice the resistance across there. Very, very nice indeed. That's silver. Canadian. Gold, again, you've got something which is running nicely. This is going back to this 2008 low, and you can really see the fantastic channel that's running here. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to explain that to anybody. I hope. I would have thought that's pretty clear what we have. Yeah, is that all right, Tony? Great. Okay. Look, I'm going to move on. I said I would have a quick look at Bitcoin for somebody, so let me just go and do that. Bitcoin, the unchartable Bitcoin. There you go. That is Bitcoin daily. I'm not 100% sure that all my data is correct. I think it is, so please just bear with me. You can pretend it's whatever you want, but again, look, this is a chart, not necessarily Bitcoin, let's call it. You can see what's happening. Price is moving to the upside. Let's just try and map it. We're going from a low here. Whoops, let me get rid of that. Sorry, start again. Never work with animals, children, or e-signal. There we go. Low, high, and another low. And you can see we're beginning to get support and resistance coming in. Price has obviously moved a little bit above the upper parallel, so I'm just going to put in an outer quartile as well. Let's look at it in a little bit more detail. What stands out to me here, obviously, is all these bars that we got across there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a sliding parallel along these bars. Put it green. Very nice. We move up. Price shoots to the upside, comes down. Where do we find support? Bang on there. I do like that. I've done this before, so I know what I'm doing. So it's cheating a little bit, I will admit. You can see what happened here. Price moved up, it shot up to the quartile, came down to the median line, up again. We hit a high, this bar here. Again, what I did last month, I think, was I just ran a line off that. When price came down, picked up the support where we thought, moved higher again. Look at that line there, underneath it. Then we moved above the bar. Whoops. We moved above the bar. If anything, we picked up support on it. Again, hit new highs, came back down. Did we get to the median line? No, we didn't, and we didn't quite need to because we had previous support there. So that is just in a very, very quick way how you dress a chart, how you make something which is allegedly as unchartable as Bitcoin, how it can make sense to a lot of people. Again, just take everything away from it and, well, it's a little bit unclear. I mean, I guess people would probably join those lines up and maybe run a horizontal across there. That's not bad. With the fork, what we're doing is we're just doing things in a lot more detail. We're getting much more nuance and getting much more information coming out of it, I think. One thing I just wanted to show, we look at all sorts of things, currencies, indices, commodities. Just did want to pop up here and look at what do we got? Euro yen. This is a weekly chart. This is a massive chart, just to show you that the way pitchforks work. I mean, you can work from 20 minutes. We looked at gold and silver. We can take it up to weekly charts if we want. This is euro yen. Looking at the blue fork, going back to 2000, the year 2000. Okay, very simple. A, B, C. Very obvious what's happening. Let's go and take a little bit of a closer look. Look at these highs in the line of the fork. That one in late 2013. That one in 2015. We hit that 149. Price over the course of 2 years came down from 149 down to a low here of 109, 4,000 points. Okay, since then it started picking up support along the lower parallel of the fork. Who on earth knew that it would move all the way from there to there? Well, would you believe it? Where have we gone from there? We've pushed up. Where have we found resistance? Look at this. This is the Brexit bar. Let me just highlight that for you. That is resistance. Okay, so we are looking at this channel at the moment. Just wanted to throw that in to show that we can use forks across our various timescales, as I said. Okay, I mean, I've been going about 35 minutes. Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm being reminded. I said I'd go and have a look at Brent oil. Let me just go there. Here we go. Again, Brent is, it's not CL. This is not CL. CL is this chart. Similar kind of chart, but not exactly the same, obviously. Brent, we have been watching for some time. Again, it's a fork, just to give you a little bit of context. Going back to January 2016, I think that was, yeah. And as you can see, it was running very, very nicely. We first of all picked up the line of resistance that we had across here in the green sliding parallel. That worked a little bit. We pushed higher. We pushed up to the quartile. That was our next resistance. And really, since the beginning of January, since the beginning of this year, we've been watching price lower. Resistance at the quartile. Okay. Then it moved down a little bit to here. You can see the green sliding parallel moved a little bit lower. We've got this prior line that we've got along here. And if you check that through, that's quite nice. We get resistance there. We move lower still, and the median line of the fork becomes our resistance. And what happens when you compress price? If you push price down, you're going to start losing support. And that is exactly what we found going on here. Our green line of support along here in the line of the fork, you can start to see it starts to get pushed a little bit. We move underneath it, we come back up, we kind of test this line. It's not perfect, but down we go again as a result of that. The resistance lowering that we're seeing by not looking on the horizontal, by looking in the lines of the fork, the lowered resistance across here has forced us through support. Price has moved. Where were we looking to see if we found support? Well, again, look at this big bar back at the end of December. Look at that really strong bar. Where does it start from? This lower parallel line. So we were looking to see if price could come down to that line, whether we got any kind of bump. We got a little one, 50.86. We're up 100 pips from it. I don't do prophecies. I can't tell you if we're now going to go from here up to the median line, or if, having had a little bit of a bounce, we're going to go underneath the line. If we do, the next place I'd probably look for support is along that sliding parallel there. Let me just go over and contrast that with what we're seeing in CL, that's oil futures. Again, we've got a similar kind of fork going back. This is February rather than January. And if anything, let me just move that into place. There we go. The green sliding parallel resistance again worked very nicely. Price fell away. Again, the support started to get a little bit weaker as price pushed down to the resistance along this blue line here. A little bit weaker, a little bit weaker. Eventually it gave way. It fell. Initially it fell to the lower parallel. We got a little bounce there, came back down. You remember with Brent, you've got a line just underneath the lower parallel. That's exactly what we're seeing at the moment, and that's where we are at this moment for CL, for oil futures. Will price move to the upside from there? Can't tell you, but that is a place of support. If price moves a little bit to the upside, comes back down, starts testing this line, this is the line of support that I would be looking for. Coincidentally, or not coincidentally, one of the things I do, rather than it being coincident, this is work, is I'm drawing forks to the downside as well. As you can see, A, a high, B, a low, C, another high. We've been watching this for a few days. We've been talking about this upper parallel resistance. That worked pretty nicely there. Middle of nowhere for most people. We thought that we'd potentially see resistance there. We saw it. Down we came. That didn't do my eyes much good. I'm sorry about that. That has never happened to me before. I'm going to keep my hands well clear of that. Anyway, look, sorry, I was just finishing off about oil. We found this median line. This is where we found a little bit of support too. Having seen the upper parallel resistance there, we've fallen all the way to the median line, and that is what we're watching at the moment in oil. Great. I've got a feeling that maybe the computer is telling me to bring things to a close. I'm sorry about that. Let me just run through things. Sorry, that was just a quick spin through some interesting charts, and I hope that for some of you who are more used to what I tend to call lagging indicators, things like RSI, MACD, things like that, it might have been a bit of an eye-opener, and I don't mean just that green flash at the end. What we're looking to do is we're looking to project forward using past supports and resistances to find future areas of support and resistance, and that really is what Forex-Analytics is all about. I'm very, very, very keen on providing clear and uncluttered charts. I hope you understand that, and maybe the oil one is not the greatest to have a look at. Let's just, let's move back and have a look at this Brent chart. That maybe looks a little bit better. Clear, uncluttered charts which also provide you with high probability, low risk entries and exits. Because as I said earlier, once you can put a pattern on a chart, once you can understand what is going on that chart, you can successfully change it. You can successfully trade it. So if you like what you've seen today, or you want to find out a little bit more, please go and check out the website if you haven't already done so. There are some more videos there and a little bit more information as well. And if you think that the methodology can help with your trading or investing, please think about giving the analysis service a try. We've got two services. One, as I said, which specializes on the precious metals. We look at gold, silver. As I say, we also look at cross currencies. We also look at some of the miners as well. And there's also the more general service, which covers metals, but also does Forex, commodities, indices. I give daily video updates on both services. There are also chat rooms that you can put your comments, your charts into, and I can update you on what I'm seeing over the trading day. For those of you that know me from Twitter, I probably put about 10 charts in a day into Twitter, something like that. I guess I'm putting more like 60 or 70 into the chat rooms every day, and that is on top of the video analysis. Also, the market service, the general service, does have two live webinars a week, a little bit like this, but maybe a little bit more sort of educational, should we say. Those we tend to look at the key charts and focus on trying to what is happening in a little bit more detail. So if you are interested in just having a look, please go and have a look at the website. As I said, we've got a special offer for new members at the moment. You get 1 month's access to the full service for just $50. And I hope if you like what you see, you will stay for longer than that first month. But if you decide that it really isn't for you, what I'm doing at the moment is saying that if you let me know that within the first 2 weeks of membership, you'll get a full refund. Okay, that is guaranteed, so no money at risk there. Right, well, look, I hope I've given you some idea of what it is I look to do, trying to simplify charts, trying to put the moves that we see into an understandable and therefore a tradable context. I think the methodology has got great benefits for traders and investors. It's not something that a lot of people look at, so we quite often pull out lines that nobody else has seen and find supports and resistances that nobody else has noticed. I appreciate that for many people it's probably quite a bit of a step out of the mainstream. But look, I really like the quote that says, if you want to have a better performance than the crowd, then you have to do things differently from the crowd. There you go. Right, I'm just going to mute myself for a second. I'm going to have a slurp and then I'm going to have a look at some of your questions, if that's all right. Just bear with me a tick. Okay, guys, I'm back with you. Right, a few questions coming in. Marcus is saying, do you trade Noki? Marcus, let me just try and get myself off this chart if I can. Yeah, here we go. I don't. I look at the Noki. What I want to stress is I'm not a trading service. Okay, I'm not saying buy or sell here. What I actually do is I just put the charts there and I make the assumption, which I think is probably a reasonable assumption, that you guys are able to actually choose your own trades. I'm not a trading service. I don't know your parameters. You know, what might be a great trade for one guy might be an absolutely murderous risk for another. So I don't provide trading service. Okay, but you know, you get these things. This is Norwegian kroner in front of you. I'm pretty sure you won't have seen it shown like this before. I mean, I guess most people are looking at it in terms of horizontals. You know, we're kind of going, yeah, you know, Norwegian kroner is going nowhere. It's completely going nowhere. Well, it is actually. It is, if I can get my fork back in place. There you go. It is moving to the upside. And I would hope that if you had been a member of the service and you would ask me about Norwegian kroner, you would have seen the fact that we've got a really nice angle of the fork here. We've got resistance happening very nicely there. We've got resistance, support, support, support. We know this is a line where things are happening. I would have hoped that you would have taken an entry maybe somewhere here at the lower parallel, around about 832. And as we approach this green line here, you would have thought, you would think of maybe lightening up or maybe taking a profit, whichever way it swings for you. I don't know. You know, it depends how you would work. Is that okay? Yeah, no problem, Marcus. Peter says, sorry, Peter's just saying, I said I looked at some of the miners. Do I look at silver wheaten? Yes, I look at silver wheaten. My miners are on page 8. This is Agnico, so it's having a little bit of a bad day today. Well, actually, you know, we're reasonably near support. What I'd probably do looking at Agnico at the moment is nothing, considering we've got FOMC tomorrow, but just keep an eye on a couple of lines. 39.71 or so, which is this green sliding parallel. Beneath it, I'd probably watch 37.90 or so, just underneath that. Please, though, I am not saying if it touches this line, you must buy it. I'm not saying that, okay? This is where you want to be looking to see if action occurs. Looking to see if action occurs. Silver wheaten, you're asking about. Yeah, there we go. I popped this into, is this the chart you saw on Twitter? Yeah, okay. Nice simple chart, ABC. Don't worry too much about what went up on there. We're looking at that on a weekly basis. But what I'm looking at the moment is sliding parallel across here. You can see we've got a little bit of support down there. A few days ago, 1870. Price started moving to the upside, didn't really go very far. Again, if it comes back down here, kind of 1870, 1873, keep a little watch on that. I've also got a trend line running here. Let me just show you that. You don't want the same color. There you go, in green. You can see from this high across there, acted as a little bit of support there, and just noticed all these lines running down it. Okay, just all those lines running down it there. So, you know, if we move through that 1873 kind of level, maybe look to 1826, which is both the lower parallel and this green sliding parallel as well. Okay, that is the level that I would look at in terms of support. Gosh, everyone's been following me on Twitter. Carrie is saying you showed Apple on. Can you look at that again, please? Yes. Carrie. Not sure. Sorry. Okay, that's Bitcoin. Where we've got Apple on the weekly. Yeah, this is the chart that I showed. Again, it's a fork that goes back a long way back to 2008, and just running, you know, really nicely. It's the kind of thing that you can be fairly confident about what's going on. I guess most people would probably put, you know, that little horizontal there and would say, oh, you know, we're all-time highs, massively bullish. Lo and behold, what's happening here? We're running into a bit of resistance. Okay, a bit of resistance at that green sliding parallel. Let me just get rid of the fork a second. Hopefully this is all going to not go to pot when I try and put it back in place. But, you know, this is what I guess most people would be looking at, that horizontal. Breakout traders getting hugely long, 134.65. Undo, delete. Watch out for the green if it happens. No, it came back, fine. You know, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that horizontal so much. What I'm interested in seeing is how price reacts in relation to this green sliding parallel. We spent 2 weeks nudging against it. Okay, I guess FOMC could be a catalyst to either take price above it or take price away from it. You know, let's wait and see. If price moves above it, next place I'm going to look at is the median line, Reason being is because that was previous resistance back there. Bit of support as well across there, a little bit. So if we move through, the next place I'm looking at is 145.90 or so. If we move even further to the upside, I'm looking at the quartile 159 because of the resistance and the strong bar away that we had there. If we start falling, I'm noting this quartile support that we got there. First place I'd probably start looking for support is 132 or so. Is that okay? Yeah. Great. Right, I'm just getting some. Wow, Dan, you put in a whole load of questions. Dan says, what's the lowest time frame where pitchforks are reliable? I use them down to 20 minutes. I know some people use them on 5 minutes, 1 minute, whatever. It is all a question of what you want to trade. I mean, you couldn't use a narrow pitchfork, say on a 1 minute chart or a tick chart, because it would just burst out of it before too long. In my experience, 20 minutes is probably the lowest you want to reliably go to. From my own point of view, I don't look at anything lower than 1 hour, 60 minute. I usually trade off a 240 or a daily chart. But again, that is my personal trading, and probably because I spent too many years sitting in front of a screen watching a dot move up and down. Dan's also said, do you ever use logarithmic charts? Yes, and I actually think I've got one here. Here you go. Yeah, log chart. This is the Dow on a log basis. Okay, so log is weird, people. Let me just show you what it comes back from. 1983. Okay, and sorry for all that whizzing up and down. It's actually worked pretty reasonably here. I don't use it on a general basis, but look at the median line resistance that we've got across there. Really, really nice. 2011, and all the way from here, 2013, we ran it all the way through 2015. We dropped to the quartile. The quartile is where we would have anticipated support, because what we saw back here, support. We move up a little bit. In fact, what you could do is just seeing those lines there, you could just add to the chart. Actually, maybe run that back. Put that across there, raised support. Because of the raised support there, maybe not a surprise, we hit the green sliding parallel, prior resistance and prior support back here, just moved above it. So I guess on a logarithmic chart, this is a weekly chart of the Dow, what would I be looking at? I'd be looking at support 2570, I'd be looking for resistance 22,380 or so. That's if it happened today. Okay, I'm not saying either of those are going to happen. I don't like logarithmic charts so much. I'm much happier leaving it just using ordinary arithmetic ones. Couple of others. Brian says, can we have a look at Goldman's? Yeah, let me just go back. Let me go to that in a sec. Frederick's asked a couple of questions. I have 2 questions. How often do members get alerts during a day, week in general? And do you give advice how to trade the fork? I don't know if you're, Frederick, if you're saying, do I provide trading signals? The answer is no, I don't do that. As I said earlier, I provide the analysis, and I hope that if I show you something like what's going on in 60-minute charts, I mean that you can work this out for yourself. I mean, for example, if I'd said, and I'm not going to talk about current prices because I don't want anybody jumping into something off the back of what I said. If I showed you this chart across here, I would hope that maybe you would, if you wanted to go short the Aussie, maybe this is the kind of area that you would short it. So I don't offer trading advice at all. If you just look at some of the charts we're seeing, this is Canadian dollar. I mean, support, resistance there becomes support. Up we go. This is our next resistance. This is not rocket science. Swiss franc again. We've been looking here a little bit complicated. You just got the red chart to the downside, but you can see resistance across there. What else? The Japanese yen, we looked at that, and something like the DX, the dollar index. This has just been running really nicely recently. This is 60 minutes. Hopefully, you could get enough information from your own trading to have a quick look at what we're seeing on this. Lower parallel moved up to resistance across there. If you were say shorting the euro, the fact that this moved from here to here, this would you would probably know that this is a likely area that you'd want to get out of that, given that given the way that the dollar was moving up. Euro as well, Euro 60, again, resistance, 60-minute charts, hopefully you can find your own way around that a little bit. Frederick's also can I have a look at SEK? I think I've got Swedish krona. Hang on a second, probably going to be a long time since I've looked at it. Swedish krona, there you go. This is what I'm looking at. A little bit wild and woolly. It's been going sideways since 2015. Started moving to the upside. Oh yeah, I remember this. I was looking at this with somebody a while back. You can see that we've got the red fork to the downside. We start moving up and out of it. We find resistance in the line of the green sliding parallel. Yeah, in the down fork. Still keep moving above that. We've got the fork. It's running very, very nicely indeed. Resistance up here at the quartile. A little bit above that. Comes back down. Quite a bit of action along the median line. Look at those bars there. Again, when we come down, quite a few bars there. We're underneath it. We're now just popped down underneath the lower parallel. Back up, and then look what we're seeing today. Lower parallel support. Look to see if that continues. Again, FOMC tomorrow. I would not recommend trying to do anything, but maybe just keep a little watch on what happens with this lower parallel. Also, maybe run a line off this low here and just keep a little watch on that. So something like 891.5. Look to see if we find continued support. If that falls away, 881 or so is what I'd look at. Price moves to the upside. You're probably looking up at 920 as being the resistance, though I guess you might want to just draw something off that high there as well and say that's about 912 or so. Okay, that's on a daily. Right, Brian is saying Goldman's. You also showed that in Twitter. Can you have a look at that? Yeah, I can. Hang on. Goldman's. This again is on a weekly chart. I think I put this in again today. Once more, this is the kind of thing. Lots of fun with horizontals. If we just go back to that high there, this is absolutely perfect territory for breakout traders. Look at this. People go above. You go above the horizontal, few pips above it. People start getting long. Goldman's is going to 300. Goldman's is going to 400. Hit resistance along the quartile. Previous resistance there. We hit that resistance. Down we come. Okay. So that is really all I think all I have to say. I mean, it's just running very nicely for a long time from this support down here. Very, very strong move up through 2016, as you can see. And as I say, just hitting anticipated resistance. Guys, I'm really running out of steam here. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. There are some more questions. If people want to ask more questions, please just email me. What I'm going to do is after this webinar, I'm going to send a recording out to everybody that has registered. On that, there's going to be a link to the website, which will also have a link to the special offer if you're interested in becoming a member. If you're not, if you want to email me, just ask a question, please do. I'll try and help out as much as I can. As I say, thank you very much for listening. It's a little bit out of the ordinary, this, a little bit different. And as I say, if you want to try the service, please do. It's $50 for a month's free access, for a month's access. If you're not happy in the first fortnight, just email me and I will give you your money back. Okay, great. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much indeed, everyone. I hope this has been useful, and apologies about my slightly croaky voice.